the Dallas Cowboys. I'm just going to let you take this one, my man. This is your team. We haven't got to talk and see what your thoughts were too much about this NFL draft. So, look, dude, floor is yours. Dallas Cowboys started off pick 24, Tyler Smith. How do you think of this draft went for the Cowboys?
Yeah, so I was on a live stream with a couple of buddies. During this, we were all former employees at 105.3 The Fan in Dallas. And when Tyler Smith was chosen, we kind of went mini viral on Twitter for our reactions to the pick. We didn't like it, but I was actually texted that morning and told, hey, if the board falls this way and they get wiped out, they're going to take Tyler Smith. So I wasn't surprised by the pick. And I went back and I rewatched him again. Still don't love it. There are massive technical issues in pass protection for him. Now, some of those will go away just by moving in the interior. He won't really have to worry about working in space all that much. But he needs to really work on his technique with his hands. There's a lot to like about him. He's a fantastic athlete. When he gets out and he moves in space as a run blocker, you can really see the fluidity that he has in his lower body. And he is a powerful individual as a run blocker that's going to help out the Dallas Cowboys because that's something that they were lacking this past season. After that, Dee Williams, listen, the off-field stuff, whenever there's a sexual misconduct case or that has happened, 90+% of them charges get dropped because there's just a lack of substantial physical evidence when it comes to these sorts of things. It is very difficult to prove. So yes, he had the charges dropped and he's free to go. But that does not make him innocent. So there is risk when it comes to Dee Williams. There's also risk with the player because he is a raw pass rusher as well. He has a long way to go before he will be a consistent pass rusher in the NFL, but he has ridiculous athleticism and he was productive in the SEC on a not so great football team. So that is a lot to like about him. Jalen Tolbert was the best or my favorite pick of the draft.
Same.
He can play anywhere, inside out. I think he really complements CeeDee Lamb very well. And then you will obviously have, when Michael Gallup comes back and is healthy, he will take over or re-establish himself as that X receiver. Tolbert can play the X, he can play the Z, he can play inside in the slot. I'm really excited for what he's able to bring. I'm not expecting like 1,000 yards from him or anything, but I think that he'll be a productive outlet for Dak Prescott in year one because the best thing about him was his route manipulation. It takes an intelligent player to be a good route runner, and you can see that in him as a player. Jake Ferguson, it's an all right pick. Tight ends are always tough for me. I like to go with really, really freaky athletes. That's not my thing.
Just give me the best athlete at that point, and then we'll figure the rest out later.
He's not that, but he kind of reminds me of Dalton Schultz coming out of Stanford. So I'm okay with that pick as maybe 2 years down the road, we really start to see him produce a little bit.
Without Blake Jarwin, you kind of need a little bit extra depth at the tight end position.
Absolutely. Matt Waletzko, he's just an athlete right now. North Dakota, he's got a long way to go, but hopefully he
37-inch arms.
Yeah, he's massive, and he is a freak, but he is going to have to learn the position first. Deron Bland, honestly, I don't know much about him.
Quarterback out of Fresno, 6 foot, just under 270, 32-inch arms. Ran just under a 4.5 at his pro day and scored pretty well in the explosive drills. I think his closing burst shows on tape. He's got some impressive physicalness and competitive. Honestly, what you want out of him. We'll see if it translates to a corner a little bit more like a special teams player early on. Like I said, it's more so sure. You're just getting more depth than anything you're waiting for day one in terms of production. Yeah,
Damone Clark, he's not going to play this year. He's getting spinal fusion surgery, but somebody who I actually really liked in this upcoming class. It's unfortunate he won't be able to play, but it kind of is what it is. John Ridgeway, the defensive tackle out of Arkansas, excited about him. Needs to work on his base a little bit, needs to play wider sometimes against double teams, but in one-on-one situations, man, he is very, very tough to move. So I'm excited that they actually went out and tried to address the one technique position.
Yeah. Like I said, the only pick they had, like I said, it's Devin Harper, the linebacker out of Oklahoma State.
I don't know anything about Devin Harper.
6 foot, just under 340, 4.5 speed, 40.5-inch vertical jump. That's impressive when you try to extrapolate that into explosive speed out there when the short area burst. I mean, it's a a 6th-round draft pick. You're hoping he makes the roster, but a lot of times 6th-rounders don't normally make that final cut. To me, the pick was Jalen Tolbert. That's to me the pick of the draft for the Dallas Cowboys. The Tyler Smith one, I think it is what it is. You lose La'el Collins. You're never drafting the next La'el Collins in this draft unless you had one of the earlier picks, but the board was never going to fall to them that way. You weren't going to get that. I think Sam Williams, I think it's a really interesting one talking about the edge pressure. But yeah, it's Tolbert for me. The only question I have, and it's for me, I do projections every year for fantasy. So I'm kind of go through, and that's what I've been working on right now after I got the depth chart sorted out because I know who's filling out these rosters. Figuring out who's going to play the slot for the Dallas Cowboys is really interesting because you don't really have that prototypical smaller player. You've got CeeDee Lamb, who's a perimeter receiver. Michael Gallup is another perimeter receiver, and Jalen Tolbert played that in most of his time when he was out South Alabama. And also given his size, 6'3", not some guy you normally move into the slot. You've got Noah Brown on this team and some other guys, but it's Simi Fehiko as well. I believe he's still on the team too. I think he was a primary target for Davis Mills when he was at Stanford. You can see him moving inside, but like trying to figure out who's going to be the primary inside receiver, especially when you have like the full complement back. When it's Cooper, when it's Lamb, Gallup, and Tolbert, who's going to be the inside receiver? Do you think?
I think it's going to be CeeDee for the most part, and they'll move guys around. But I think with the way that this offense works, it is an inside out offense in the passing attack. That's why we didn't see Amari Cooper get 130 targets last year. It's because this offense works from the hashes and then out. That's the way that Dak Prescott likes to attack. He is one of the best in the NFL attacking the middle of the field. So I think it's probably going to be CeeDee, get him on those deep crossing patterns and let him kind of sneak in between the safeties and the linebackers.
And it makes a ton of sense too, because if you look at the NFL now, the way things are moving, your number one receiver is no longer guaranteed to be the X like it used to be in years past. Like you see a lot of times teams are moving their number ones into the slot because you can't double team a slot receiver. And you also can't use, if you're a corner, you can't use the boundary to your advantage. You're just stuck in space. And especially if you want to go bunch formation in there too, bring other guys inside, you just create so many mismatches at that point by putting your best receiver in the slot. Just look at Cooper Kupp, for an example. Not comparing CeeDee Lamb to Cooper Kupp, but in terms of how you can utilize a player inside versus on the perimeter, I think it makes a ton of sense. You want to move CeeDee Lamb in. We know the route running is there. We know the body control. Like he is top tier. He's good at everything. So like he can succeed on the outside or the inside, but I think bringing in Jalen Tolbert does give him that just a little bit of additional flexibility when I was a massive fan of that. And look, if you're a fan of the Dallas Cowboys, let us know what you thought of the Dallas Cowboys draft haul from the 2022 NFL draft. Let us know down in the comments. Make sure to like and subscribe. Definitely helps out the channel. Also, make sure you stay informed with all the latest from Pro Football Network.